welcome to yet another episode of Badass Banyas. Today we have with us Anuba from Tiggle, who's creating an awesome enterprise around something that we loved as kids and I still love, hot chocolates. Without wasting much time, let's just listen her story from her. Anuba, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shantanu, for having me.
How have you been? And let's just get right into your how you've kind of created this company, and we would love to understand from you how your early days were, your college days, your school days were, and we'll build on the story from there.
Sure, perfect. As a child, I belong to Agra. It's where my hometown is. So I completed my college, completed my school from there. And for college, I moved to a boarding college. You must have heard of this university called Banasthal University. So it is a residential university, a very massive campus, and it's an all-women university. My journey has always been in a co-ed school, but when I was moving there, I was like really nervous. I was really afraid about the journey that it will happen, and we anyways were hearing like all of these small incidents, like living with all girls and stuff. But I was on the same hand very excited for the entire hostel experience, and somehow Banasthali was one of my first event, which triggered the entire idea of entrepreneurship in my head, which also gave like the base to me. Though I studied business even in my school days, my 11th and 12th, my majors were in business itself, but there was no practical experience as such. So still, I think colleges also don't really give the real or the actual, experience. But still, comparatively, as far as I've heard from my other friends who entered different universities, I think I was still on the luckier side, or probably I was just pumped up enough to take the opportunities and just grab them and kill them. So my school life was cool, but I never thought that I'll probably enter into the business space ever. And my entire family as well belongs from a service background. My mom is into bank, though my dad also has a business, but it's again a sidey thing for him. So entrepreneurship and business was never into my head ever. I was also thinking probably I'll have like this, a normal career path. However, on the same hand, this word called unconventional, I heard this word somehow. I don't know when and why and in which book I read it. But the meaning of this word unconventional, it stick to my head even still. And I think also like even before the college time started, I always wanted to be like, I want to do something unconventional. So at that age, like when you're a teenager, you don't even know what is the real meaning of this and what it takes to be really unconventional in this life. But yeah, from there, the buzzword came into my head, and then the journey started.
Super. But how did you come about creating this hot chocolate brand, right? And where was that seed of the idea? वो कहाँ से आया था वो छोटा सा seed of the idea?
Right. So I'll just go completely into the past. It was, I believe, 2019 when I completed my graduation, and from college I moved to Gurgaon. So I was doing a job there. You must have heard of Urban Clap. So I started my corporate journey from there. And while I was having exciting time working with the folks over there, working with the really exciting folks over there, I realized that there was an itch to do something else as well. Because even back in college, we were experimenting with some of the other stuff, like creating something, selling something. So it was on the nerves as well. So I started with this side company. It was related to postcards. But again, it was a side hustle for me. And I was really having fun doing that. But I realized it is probably not a scalable business, and I want to create something else. Like I was having fun, but again, it was not something which I could see as super passionate about or scalable. So after that, like one day, it's about December of 2019 probably. I was on my way to the office. And I see all these people with the ice cream cart sellers you must have seen, right? So ice cream is a very seasonal business. In case if you see, you will see so many ice cream cart sellers during June, July, or the peak summer seasons. But in December, they all vanish. So the first idea, like the seed was started from there, that if it is a seasonal business, then how many giants are there in this business, and how are they making profits and sustaining if it is a seasonal product. So from there I started doing my research, and from there, like, research after research after research, and I realized the other point that happened was, if you see on the streets, and this is before the pandemic. Okay, so before the pandemic, you can imagine these things. You cannot imagine all of this stuff at this point. But if you see on the streets in Delhi or Gurgaon or wherever, even in Calcutta, there are people selling tea, coffees,
Right.
and other food products, but nobody was really selling exciting hot drinks.
Hmm.
And by exciting hot drinks, I mean like anything, not just hot chocolate, but anything. And that stuck with me. If you see, tea has an ecosystem in India, and that is why it is selling from like ages, from decades. Coffee built their own market, their own niche. I think just a decade before. Before that, there was no ecosystem as such in India for coffee specifically. So I was like, there needs to be something else which will come into the market. It can be anything, like it can be any other hot drink, but what it can be. So from ice cream carts and how this ice cream seasonal business works, I moved to the street vendors business. And then again, research after research after research, I moved to, I was like, looking for other hot drinks which will potentially have, or which will potentially have like, take a big space into the market, like just like tea and coffee. And I personally am a hot chocolate lover. But at that point, when I was thinking and when I was doing my research, I couldn't think that I am actually a hot chocolate lover. So December of 2020, I was like returning back from my office or probably going to my office, and I was craving for hot chocolate. But then I realized, where will I get hot chocolate in Gurgaon? I'll not get it nearby, right? I need to go to a cafe, and to a good cafe which serves really good hot chocolate, and that will cost me, a cup will cost me like 200 on the minimum side, 400 to 500 on the maximum side, or probably even higher. These Gurgaon cafes. And then I was like, so there was like a link, and the link was what the research I was doing as a sidey thing and out of my curiosity. Plus, I myself is a hot chocolate lover, and that day it took me, effort to go to a cafe because of all these cons. On the same hand, I knew that hot chocolate is something which will, give me a pump up and will make me just genuinely happy. So from there, the idea of let's invent a hot chocolate market began.
Right.
And then exciting stuff happened. I think this was one of the bestest phase of my life, or probably one of the most craziest phase of my life, because I, as a 21-year-old in those days, these are, before the pandemic, which is Jan of 2020, I was legit standing outside the metro station in Gurgaon, selling hot chocolate, distributing these pamphlets to folks. And out of all, I was super nervous. This was my first day when I decided ki bahut ho gaya research. I was like, okay, I am probably done with research. I need to take first step towards the execution. And I thought probably let's make some cups. So I made, I think 25 cups of hot chocolate. I took this big jar. This was like this, steel jar so that it doesn't get cold. I picked that up from my friend's house from where I got the kitchen, because at those days I was living in a PG in Gurgaon. And all these pamphlets, I got it from Nehru Place and somewhere. And I just went. So I went out of craziness, but I realized like people were gazing at me. People initially didn't allow me to stand over there. Finally, this one shop selling, some ऐसे कुछ food product, like, street product, allowed me, even gave me a table out of, humanity. You take this table, stand over here, aram se, do it. And I was like, okay, that's my chance. I need to sell all these cups. So within 52 minutes, I was able to complete all these, I was able to sell all these 25 cups or whatever I had. But these 52 minutes were really, like, I was afraid as well, because people were gazing at me. This is DLF phase 3 metro station. So probably I didn't do that for free. Like, I didn't sell the hot chocolate for free. I don't remember how much I charged, but I think somewhere around 40 to 50 I charged for one cup. Because otherwise people don't take you seriously if you are giving something out for free. And I was really happy when I was able to sell like this complete, within 52 minutes. And then there was this guy who was standing and, waiting to get his cup. But I was like, sorry, I am done for the day.
That's really amazing. And just to sum this up, this is so true. And I think most of our insights come from a couple of the things that you said, right? Personal pain points, or something that we've been thinking about a lot, researching about a lot, and that it just clicks and it happens, right? So curiosity driven insight is always superb. How many people walking on the road would look at an ice cream cart and think कि यार ये तो seasonal business है and इसके ऊपर और क्या build किया जा सकता है. That's what we call the second or third order thinking. The first order thinking is ये खा कैसे सकता हूँ, या अभी खा सकता हूँ कि अभी नहीं खाना है, आगे बढ़ जाओ. So really superb. Yeah, that feeling of being able to convince somebody to buy something from you for money, that's absolutely different and amazing. It may not be scalable, but that validation that stays with you for a very long period of time. So that's really amazing. But now tell me, how did this was the starting point kind of a thing. How did you start processifying it or formalizing it, thinking about creating an organization around yourself? I'm assuming you were the only person doing it at that point in time.
Right. So again, going back to the mindset game, at that time when I was actually like, after that, so this was the first day which I explained to you. After that, I collaborated with a kiosk over there to keep this going along with my job. And by this time, I already changed my organization, so I was just working in some other organization, and I collaborated with this kiosk where I used to at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning give them I believe like 7 to 8 liters of fresh hot chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
All they need to do is heat it up and sell. So this was McCain store, like kiosk, just downstairs of this metro station. It was a big metro station over there. So again, I was doing it out of fun, and because I was really enjoying the process, this was something different, which I thought it's a different thing which I'm on, and it's a different journey. But at that point, I had zero idea that where I'm heading to. And I was just continuously asking myself this question, that if I'm on the right path or not, or if preparing liquid hot chocolate is a scalable business or not. And it kept going from, I think, Jan, Feb, and March of 2020. It was just going smoothly. I continuously was like, probably this is just fun. But on the same hand, I'm like, no, I want to do this. I'm really enjoying the process. I want to take it further. And then again, one day I got this idea. And this idea was basically, I am currently preparing a liquid hot chocolate, which is probably not a scalable business. And even if it is a scalable business, you have, you see, right, these people, like there's so many companies doing good stuff, but selling chocolate milk or all these liquidy products in this, small container or bottles. But for that, as far as I know, you have to, at that time, you have to add a lot of other ingredients which are not necessary. Not just preservatives, but like so many other ingredients has to go in them to increase their shelf life. And I didn't want to go to that route, to be the another company doing this preservatives and all these things. So I thought, why not I make a hot chocolate mix? And there were already existing hot chocolate mix, but the biggest problem, if you see, is the quality. Anything mass produced doesn't have the quality. Even if today Tiggle plans to go that ahead, like the biggest problem with all these mixes is that the quality gets hampered. So on the same, I was excited. Okay, if we go hot chocolate mix, it's a scalable business. But on the other hand, I wanted to be very cautious about the quality of the product.
Mm-hmm.
So by this time, it's already March, and the news of pandemic is already like there's so many people talking about this is happening. On the other hand, at that time, I was traveling to Himachal. So I already prepared a couple of, I think, 10 to 20, all these hot chocolate mix. And I had a lot of friends over here running their own cafes and stuff. So I thought probably these people already have a lot of knowledge. They'll probably help me know how it is, or is it comparatively better than the other existing in the market. So I was in this process when I got a call from my mother that, hey, there's something happening around coronavirus. So I think you need to head back to home. And because I was living all alone in Gurgaon, my mom she was really panicked, and she like, leave everything, you take, whatever possible, and come directly back to home. So I came back home, and I think after just a few hours of it, the pandemic was announced, the lockdown was announced. So I was somehow, saved to get stuck in the Himalayas. Otherwise, I would haven't regretted that, but that turned out to be good.
Right.
So now I'm back home. All these giant companies are shutting down, right? At this moment, for me to imagine to run a business or to start a business is equal to impossible. And when I'm at my home environment, because I recently graduated, so my parents are also, trying to convince me to go for my higher studies. So either you prepare for, CAT for MBA, or probably you do the job. And interestingly, by this time, I already quit my job, because I am step by step or month by month getting serious about business and just getting serious about the hot chocolate market in general. Like nothing else apart from hot chocolate market or something, as big as tea and coffee market is exciting me at this moment. But now I'm at home, all these companies are shutting down, and I'm like, okay, probably this is the end. So much of fun happened in the last 3 to 4 months. Now it's pandemic, you never know what will happen. All these cases are coming up. So it's better you shut up your mouth and focus either on your studies or get a good job for yourself, or probably start freelancing. So I was doing freelancing from my college days, and I really always enjoyed freelancing. So because I was also dicey, I need to do this, like do Tiggle or probably not do Tiggle. So I decided, let's start with freelancing, because that will keep me, like my learning process will happen. I keep networking with folks. And on the same hand, I can think of Tiggle. But Shantanu, at that point, what happened is I went so deep into freelancing that I forgot completely about Tiggle. Right. Because when I was living in Gurgaon, I had some good connections. So if all these people doing their own startup and stuff, you keep yourself, pumped up. However, in the home environment, there was something which was missing out, no matter how much people say that, have it like virtually and stuff.
I can relate with it.
And it's been long now. It's been really long. And then something happened. So it's a very, very interesting story. And I think I'm taking a lot of time to explain the story, but it's very, very close to my heart. And that's what has shaped Tiggle, values of Tiggle and everything else. So my mom, she's a banker. And if you remember, during the lockdown also, bankers have to go to bank every day. So she was heading to her bank every day. And one day in the middle of the pandemic only, which is, I believe, June, July of 2020, she came home and she told me that one of the temporary worker from her bank has got fired. And if you remember, at that time, we were anyways hearing so many people talking about, this person fired, this company fired 2,000 employees. This was like real in those days. Right. So for me, it was very casual. I didn't react anything. Other day, my mom came and she told me out of 3 workers, the second one also got fired. So it was a little shocking, but I still chose not to react. And eventually, I think in the same week, even the third, like the only remaining worker, also got fired. So now I am at a point that I have to ask my mom that what are the lives of these people, these 3 people who got fired in the middle of the pandemic? How will they survive? What is their background? And when my mom also, she also knew only a little bit about all of these things, she shared all these facts with me that this person lives in this, has 2 children or like even 4 children, and mother and father to take care of. And this person has no job now. Right. And all of these 3 workers had similar stories. So I somehow emotionally got connected that there's time to generate employment. Now, starting a business out of this fact that you, out of social or out of, just humanity, want to generate employment is not a good idea. But I'd say that was the thing which restarted Tiggle. It just something happened. And I was like, okay, instead of building other things, why don't I pick the Tiggle thing up and go one level deeper into my research? Because by this time, I'm also a little bit more experienced and have a little bit more good connections who can help me out. So it started. And after the lockdown was open, every day I used to receive cocoa samples at my house. And I have tasted and tried cocoa from, I'd say, more than 40 South Indian farms, specifically South Indian farms. So every day somebody knocks and then this cocoa, and my mom is like, what is this happening, huh? So yeah, so I tasted it, I tried it, and then the battle was, which is the best? So I ended up like having 2 to 3 which are like really good in quality, and then the next was that I need to partner with people who are really good people. Their motive is not just business, but their motive is something beyond. And finally, out of these, I think 2 or 3 samples which I really loved, and they were going well with my formula, I talked to all of these people very, very deeply and finalized with one. These people were like they have a very small farm in Tamil Nadu. And they were like really helpful people, very down to earth people. And they were not doing this business because of business, but they were doing this because they had farms and they wanted to produce something good, something organic. So it was like a win-win for me. It was matching my values. For them, I was able to do something. So I like, okay, let's start from here. So finally, in November of 2020, after doing a lot of calls and a lot of iteration on what our positioning should be, what our packaging should be, what our vibe should be, what our values should be, we launched Tiggle in the online space, in the D2C space, because I was also well aware of it, and I didn't want to go into the offline space because anyway, it was not an option for me that time. Yeah, that's how it like really started. Before that, it was just, a combination of fun, experiment, and curiosity.
That's absolutely thrilling and amazing to know, right? And I can share a couple of incidents from my life too. Maybe we'll extend this podcast a lot. But long story short, I've always believed in value first organizations, impact first organizations, right? And it is a normal story of people finding, insights, people finding a business that they want to do, some product that they love. But when you find a cause that you want to serve, nobody can move you from that. That is something that I've seen in so many people out there, and something that I've found in myself too, that when you surrender to a cause and when you are value first, when you're leading with values, when you're taking decisions also, you create the most impact. And I just loved that. I mean, I don't know if I am sure the viewers will be able to connect with your story, but having gone through that journey myself, I understand, because sometimes you take decisions that are not that won't make the most money for you. Sometimes you take those decisions, right? And absolutely right that, you can't think of a capital allocation, most efficient capital allocation when you're thinking impact first. So that is a very, very good mix to have. And if you are there so early on, that's absolutely amazing, right? So kudos on that. I would love to understand some business metrics too. The viewers will also love to understand some of the business metrics. So we would love to know what kind of revenue you're doing, and a couple of metrics that you're obsessed about completely on a day-to-day basis. So 2 questions.
Interesting. So we are very data-driven. Okay. So every decision which is happening inside the company, or every other move, whether from the marketing angle or from anything else, is always based on all the data which we have right now, or all the data which we can collect. So one interesting metric which we were just discussing before our call with the team internally was, it's very exciting. It made us very happy. And that is, our last week sales is more than the sales which we had in the initial 2 months of Tiggle.
Super.
So this made us very excited and happy on the same hand. From the MRR POV, so MRR is something which kept changing for us during the previous pandemic as well. But if I give you an average right now, it lies somewhere around 4.5 to 5 lakhs at this moment, at this point. Yeah.
Super. That's really awesome. And how many cups would that be, or if you measure it in terms of packets or something like that?
So we have already crossed, I think, 9,000 orders till now, which makes your 90,000 cups. But this doesn't include our B2B collaborations. So that is a separate game. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. And which are the one or two metrics that you are completely obsessed about, and why?
Okay. Interesting. So I belong from a marketing background. And I also used to do a lot of these Facebook ads and have a lot of fun with Facebook ads.
Wow.
So probably for the entire company, the metrics would be different. But for me, it is really fun to watch. Our like CAC is something which I track on daily basis, which is very wrong. But on the other hand, even our ROS is something I'm very obsessed with. It is, as far as I know, on the higher side as per the industry standards right now. So that is something which I really enjoy. Plus, on the other hand, one thing which entire company is obsessed with is the community. So as we are growing month after month, we are only 9 to 10 months old right now. But as we are growing month after month, the goals become more clear. Your vision becomes more clear. So we never had this vision, but now our vision is very clear that we want to make hot chocolate equals to Tiggle.
Right.
So that is the vision for which we work for. But on the other hand, one thing which we recently launched India's first jaggery hot chocolate mix. Right. And it is built by not our team, not by me. It is built by 150 people from across Tiggle community, or I must say 150 people from across Tiggle close-knit community.
Super.
So we are focusing a lot on the community side of things and focusing a lot on, how we can be different as a D2C company. How can we be different? Launching one product after another, working on the marketing angle of your company, your positioning, your packaging is something which every other company has to do, whether it is in the D2C space or not. But I think community is something which is the future. And also on the other hand, community is something which excites me a lot.
Absolutely.
I would be happy, and the Tiggle team would be happy to say that Tiggle is a company which is built by community and not built by just a team of 5 or 10 or 20 people.
Absolutely, Anuva. And let me just add there that this is a very, very common trait that I have found in people who go value first, impact first, who try and create a community around themselves and obsessively believe in themselves not being at the center of the community, but just as a community enabler, right? And this has been a brilliant trend that we've been seeing all around the world of companies trying to create communities around themselves. Obviously, there have been use cases for this for a very, very long time. If you look up Royal Enfield or folks like that who create a premium kind of a community around themselves. But to create products that serve a specific community, right? That is in itself a very, very exhilarating experience. And again, a point where where I relate to you is building up communities, right? I don't know how to explain that feel and that joy of folks telling others that, hey, I'm a part of the Read On family. That is the word that they use, right? And I'm thankful for the community or something like that. That's absolutely that is inexplicable. You're understanding, right? I'm fumbling while explaining.
Also become very excited to co-create.
Exactly. And that's a word that I've been using for so long that, we need co-creators to solve a problem. We just can't do it by ourselves. So the problem that we focus on is personal finance, where, 1 billion folks are पीड़ित हैं उस problem से. I can't do it alone. Even if I imagine that I can do it alone, it will be a very, very hubristic imagination. No single person can do it. I don't know. 36 different languages in the country, right? At the end of the day, you have to go down and talk to people in their language. So absolutely love that community model. But I would want to dig a bit deeper into that, right? How do you think of your community, and how have you gone about building it? What has been the so to say acquisition strategy for it and the retention strategy for it?
Got it. Interesting. Thank you for this question. I really appreciate this question actually. So when we were planning to launch Jaggery hot chocolate. The idea was not basically to launch Jaggery hot chocolate, but the idea was to launch, with a different sweetener. Because with everybody moving towards the health section, even ourselves, it makes more sense to cater to the people who are cater needs of, or give happiness to people who are also not really want to have intake of refined sugar. So yeah, on the so basically from the community angle, based on data, we realized that we need to build probably Jaggery hot chocolate, or stevia hot chocolate. So with this idea, one day randomly, I already had a lot on my plate, so I was feeling overwhelmed, and we were a very small team. So one day randomly on our Instagram channel, I just went up. We had what? We had very, I think only we had 3,000 followers. And I just, went to the story sharing feature, and I started speaking that, hey, we are looking to build this. If you're interested to co-create, I'm super open. I don't want to do this all alone. I am already feeling very overwhelmed. So I was very vulnerable on the call, and I just kept writing and, sharing these, me speaking stories. And we received, and I had no idea. Again, I was like, kitna hi log aayega? I was not sure how many people will, jump in. Within, I think, less than 5 to 6 hours, we had more than 150 entries. And I, out of rush, stopped it. And let's stop this, please, because I have no idea how we will communicate. With any community, it's not about, so why do we form community? So that we can have, conversation. And it is not just a one-way conversion on a one-way communication. So what tool I will use for this? It cannot be like a WhatsApp group or a Slack channel. It can be a Slack channel. This was not an idea which I got at that time, but I stopped it. And then we 150 people. I didn't take any more entries. I just stopped at 150. There were I think 7 to 8 people to whom we said no. And after that also people were, keep coming. So that gave me a sense of confidence that people are excited about it. So you asked me, right? Like what excites me every day excites me is the people who are engaging with us on these Instagram or Facebook or social channels is insane. And that can probably be just the vibe of the company or casuality which we have. But yeah, coming back to the community piece, we started exchanging emails, and it became like a family. People started sharing about their experience. So these people actually helps from sourcing raw material, from us finding the right jaggery. We needed an organic jaggery. So from finding them to, the formula, the packaging, how the marketing should be done, who should be your ideal customers, everything has been done by these people. And also these people did blind tasting. So with one of our existing bestseller, which is dark hot chocolate, with Jaggery hot chocolate, once it was prepared, it took a really, really long time to prepare that. And then there was this another sample from some other company, will not take the name for sure. And we sent this to the community people. So they recorded these videos, which are there on our Instagram as well, and tasted and were, giving ratings that, hey, this is 8, this is 6, this is 10, or whatever. So it was a fun experience. It was a very lively and like a family kind of experience. Now from here, it was a validation for the community POV. We are planning to have like a bigger community, but again, it needs to be a close-knit community. It cannot be, there's one thing which is Instagram, and people say that Instagram is also community, but if you see, it is also a one-way communication happening.
Correct. Absolutely right.
So yeah, we are planning to use tools like, Tribe.so or Upvote, trying to also bring some SaaS principles into D2C, because again, that excites me, and that is, I think, is something unconventional. So using all of these methods, we are planning to build some exciting stuff around that. It still needs a little bit more iterations, but probably by October, we are planning to launch something exciting. So yeah, stay tuned on that.
That will be super. You got me kind of hooked to that. I'll definitely be looking out for it, and maybe you can tell me about it thoda sa pehle se after the call. And yeah, that is absolutely superb. And what are your plans about scaling this up? How do you plan to do this formally, if at all?
Right. So I think we are really entering into the scale mode right now.
Right.
So one thing is, till now we are selling only through our website. even the numbers which I've shared with you are coming only from our website. However, we are not on, even on the online marketplaces right now. So the first thing, which is the easy thing for us, which is also on pipeline, is to enter into these marketplaces, Amazon, Flipkart, and so on and so forth.
That was the first question actually that my sister asked, that why aren't they on Amazon? I was like, अरे they are new, they're doing it and they're doing really well, और margin में भी ज़्यादा होता होगा, तो choose किया होगा कि नहीं जाते हैं Amazon के साथ.
The primary reason to not enter Amazon initially was because we wanted, like, the aim is to not have, like, even today sales comes, we become excited for a short period of time, but the aim is to build a brand.
Right.
And I seriously think that sales and money is just a byproduct of a good branding. So when you have to build a brand, I think it is a good idea for anybody who is watching this and want to come into the D2C space. It makes sense to bring all the traffic from organic media and inorganic media to your website. Because when people come to your website and purchase to your website, they'll remember. People purchasing from Amazon probably may not remember that they purchased something called Tiggle, or like Tiggle hot chocolate.
Right.
So that was the mental model which I followed at the time when we had to decide marketplace or website. But now I think moving forward, we are aiming to be on the marketplaces. And the other answer to your question, which you mentioned about, going how to scale. So I think, again, the online market is becoming very, very massive. So the opportunities over there are, like, uncountable right now.
True.
So the aim is digital, scale through digital media. However, probably we may think of entering into the supermarkets as well. So currently we are already in 7 supermarkets in Indore.
Okay.
Because we were able to crack very quickly, and it was an inbound from our distributor in Indore, and he was also a very good person in terms of, ready to help us and stuff. So we are like, okay, let's give it a shot. And then another one is the gifting companies. We are going big time on the gifting companies as well.
Correct. And that is a very, very good B2B kind of a play for you guys, right? Getting into that space. I would again want to understand one last thing from you. That is your perspective on personal finance, financial independence, and how important that is for an entrepreneur, for a student. How important is it to think about money and money management, right? For your basic necessities at least. What's your take on it?
Makes sense. So when I started Tiggle, my financial journey also started alongside the start of Tiggle, because before that I was not the primary person to handle the finances. Right now, because I have the responsibility to drive this company, I also need to take the responsibility to drive the finances.
Right.
So initially, we faced a lot of challenges, with something as simple as keeping a track of what is coming and what is going out.
Right.
However, there are so many good people out there who have helped us and made our life super easy in terms of just tracking. So there's this new tool which we started using, and that is X Razorpay, which is Razorpay X,
Right.
basically.
Absolutely, I love that tool.
Made our life so easy. And it took a little time for everybody to onboard on it. No matter I'm the primary person to use it, people also need to be in the team, have full knowledge about it, or people who are responsible for that. But once the onboarding was done, just the kind of tracking which we are able to do, not just from the POV of filing taxes, you need to have all these GST bills, but also from the point of view of that, how much is going out every month to every vendor. There's a place where we can have all of these things. Right. So I think just discovering not just Razorpay X, but all other tools, and just reading more about it. If I would have not started my own startup, I probably would have not figured out till now that what is how to have a proper track of what is coming and what is going out and where you want to spend. Though I still feel there are a lot of challenges which we face in terms of deciding or allocating budgets. But the primary thing needs to be for everybody, not just for a startup, is to know what is coming. Even when your salary is coming, know how much you are getting as a salary and how much you are spending. So
absolutely, I think that is one of the basic things that's very, very important for startups, individuals, large organizations. What is coming in, what is going out.
Yeah, and I think basic, but primarily missing out by a lot of folks. Even we missed out.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
time.
I find a lot of chartered accountants even out there who do not understand cash flows very intuitively. So what you talked about is primarily cash flow. They know accounting really well. They can account for everything and anything, and they are very good at tax filing and everything. Cash flows is something that a business person will understand who's on the ground, and you have to build that hunch for yourself. You'll get, if you think you're not there yet, you will definitely get there. But all of my lessons around cash flow have come from interacting with people on the ground, entrepreneurs on the ground who are maybe distributors of an FMCG product or something like that. Because if you talk to a chartered accountant and tell them that, hey, 30% margin is great or 40% margin is great, they'll tell you 40% margin is great. You ask an entrepreneur if a 30% or a 40% margin is great. The entrepreneur will tell you maybe the 30% margin can be great if your stock is rolling very, very quickly. Right? So that is the kind of intuitive understanding that they have about money and how money multiplies and how money moves. So superb.
Really want to add, because I know a lot of a lot of college students must have also been watching this episode. So I am from a commerce background, and my teachers taught me balance sheet, but I never learned it. And I also think in accounts or in any subject, there are so many technical terms which which are taught to us. But all of these technical terms become so easy when you don't rectify it. But actually, like now I know how to do it, even if I don't know the technical relevance of that,
Right.
like the technical words relevance of that.
Right.
So I think execution by any ways and any means, like as simple as starting your own side hustle and building a small product and just trying to sell it to 50 people, will teach you cash flow and balance sheets.
Absolutely. Nothing like it. And contextual learning always helps, and experiential learning always helps. And that is also one of the cores for Read-On, that how do you build context around content, not just content. So how do you build a context and a community around the content that you do? So that is at the core of what Read-On tries to do. Super awesome conversations. I lost track of time, Anuva. Surely, I don't know, this has gone on for a very, very long period of time. But absolutely thrilling to have you here. Any parting thoughts for the young entrepreneurs out there, for the Gen Z out there, millennial out there, who might be trying to still, figure out that what they want to do or have an idea but haven't started to execute or anything? Any parting words?
I think I am still young enough and discovering all of these things myself and asking giants in the industry to guide me. And I'll say the same to everybody who is watching this, that keep reaching out to the right folks. For me, the turning point was when I found good people, or I must say when I found people who can add value in my life. And that happened only when I reached out to 50 folks. So keep reaching out to folks. And also, being a female founder, I really want to say this out loud always whenever I interact with anybody, and that is there's a big need of female founders out there, not just in D2C, but in every field, in tech, in e-commerce, in everything as well, in freelancing, in banking. So like I really want to appreciate like every female founder out there, because these people are those who even drive me to work hard every day. But yeah, all the female founders, or just females who are watching this, or who see themselves to start something, like do it anyways, and don't be afraid of a space which is led by probably, or the ratio is not correct between male and female. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think the male and female ratio is completely kind of not that great for all industries out there. At Read-On, we have a completely female-led team. All of my core team members are females. Other than me, everybody is a female in the organization. So absolutely, yeah, I loved this conversation. And for the viewers also, this was Anuva, who was unconventional, and she has been driving that word to the point of its true meaning, and deriving insights from nuances around her, and using data also now super powerfully, and creating something that can that people can absolutely super fall in love with. So all the best on your journey, Anuva, from
Thank
the
you so
Badass
much.
Banians team.
Loved it. Love talking to you.
Absolutely, same here. And Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching.